Well, Donald Trump has called in the FBI, the ATF, ICE, and many other departments to his immediate attention. In fact, he did this right after the No Kings protest. I've got a lot to share with you today because, quite frankly, the mainstream media isn't telling the truth yet again about the protests that happened this weekend. But let's start first with what happened just prior to the protests breaking out. And it's a very unfortunate death of a Minnesota Democrat and her husband. This is on New York Post. Minnesota Democrat and husband killed. Another politician and his wife injured after madman posing as a cop shoots them in politically motivated attack. Now, the key to this is the fact that that particular politician, before this shooting, she came out in support of Republicans, right? And she voted with Republicans to restrict healthcare access of illegal aliens, right? And I believe that could have been why she was targeted by this Democrat who, by the way, had No Kings protest flyers in his freaking vehicle. But here's the video she posted, and you can tell that she is absolutely terrified in this video. The fact that I think she was worried about something, but take a listen.
I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
DFL Speaker America.
So there you go. She was very concerned and worried, as you could see, and I wonder if she had received any threats. But now, unfortunately, my heart goes out to her and her family and those impacted. And I am disgusted by what happened. But the shooter has now been captured. By the way, they were looking for him. He was out and about. But the shooter is Vance Luther Boletaire, a Democrat activist and 2019 appointee of Governor Tim Walz. He was the suspect in the targeted shooting, and this is him here. And you can see Governor Walz appointed Vance Boletaire, and he was actually appointed by Tim Walz. Somebody needs to do an investigation into Mr. Tim Walz, because that is downright chilling to the very core. But there you have it. What's also interesting is that he reportedly had a hit list of about 70 other names, which included other radicals like Representative Ilhan Omar and Tim Walz himself, for whatever reason. But maybe he had a beef with Tim Walz, but that has also come out. But anyway, they do have the guy captured as of now. Thank God. But that happened just before all these protests broke out, so much so that they're in Minnesota. Out of abundance of caution, the police there were telling people not to attend. But what actually went down at these events and caused Donald Trump's response? Before I get into that, just a quick break from my sponsor. If you're a dog owner like me, then you're already aware that, well, a dog's health can be complicated. In fact, sometimes it's hard to separate what is a healthy dog from an unhealthy dog. Well, Dr. Marty Goldstein, one of America's top holistic veterinarians, says there is one potentially dangerous substance which is found in many of your dog foods. In fact, you should stop feeding it to your dog immediately. The sad truth is that many dog food manufacturers have this substance in their dog food, and it's one of the most dangerous substances that your dog can have. And no surprise, most of the mainstream media is ignoring it. In fact, Dr. Marty, after years of research, has released an exclusive video for free to the public, by the way, and it's a video that's uninterrupted, and it showcases exactly what foods you should stop feeding your dog. And to check it out, all you have to do is go to healthydog1.com/haven. That's healthydog1.com/haven, or use your cell phone to scan the code on the screen. And just by making this one change to your dog, you can help support his overall health. So check it out today. I'm a dog lover. You are not going to want to miss this one. If you want more information, click that more button if you're on your cell phone, or click the link in the description box below. So let's start first with the fact that at these protests that happened all over the country, the majority of people who attended these protest all over the United States of America were elderly people, and more specifically, a lot of elderly liberal women, if you get my drift. And here's the Blaze Media leftist No King event in Arizona draws older crowd with patriotic symbols. So definitely an older crowd in Arizona, and this was also in Scottsdale, Arizona. Then we have the crowds here, which you can see. Taking that scam view, this is in Pittsburgh, one of the events in Pittsburgh, a majority of it is an elderly crowd. Like, absolutely. Let's go to another place here so you can see. These are pictures of a No Kings rally in North Carolina. And you can see yet again, a majority are an older crowd. And I'm going to give my reasoning for that in a minute because I do believe there's a reason for that. Here's another crowd, from another area. This is on a university campus there. And we also have, this is picture of people driving by in Mobile, Alabama, right? And I guess they were bussed into Mobile, Alabama, according to sources. But you can see yet again an older crowd, right? And by the way, there were a lot of big nothing burger protests all over the country. Most of them were small. Not all of them, but most of them were small. Again, you see that older crowd going on a little bit. Yet another older crowd here. Majority, right? Going with the majority there. And a majority are white and older white women for the most part. Let's keep going. And this one is in Atlanta, which you would think it's a majority black in Atlanta, yet you don't see that here. Kind of odd, right? Kind of odd. I think we're getting more support from blacks and Hispanics with Donald J. Trump. But moving on a little bit, this one, it is what it is. This is people coming out of a assisted living facility ready to go to a No Kings event, No Kings protest. And it goes on for a while, but definitely that elderly crowd, right? And here we go again. And I could show you lots of this guy, by the way. He was offered to pay 5 cents to have a Trump doll and smash it. That's just ridiculous. That's stupid. But you can see some of the elderly crowd there behind him. And of course, this young lady here whom we all hate, Randy Weingarten, part of the teachers union leader there. And of course, she is attending the event there as well. So here's my 2 cents. And that wasn't all of them. There were also other events that there were a lot of, I'm going to guess, illegal immigrants at. But anyway, regarding this older crowd, I believe that they are literally scared to death about losing their Social Security and their health care because the mainstream media is constantly telling them that you're going to lose everything. Donald Trump's going to take it away. And that is why these lefty women are out there in mass. They're all out there. I don't think it has anything to do with what the event was supposed to kind of be about. And that was, arresting illegal aliens who came here illegally and deporting them, right? I think it's more of fear that they've been told that all their benefits and goodies are going to go away. And that's why you have a majority, which is a straight up lie. What is going away is fraud, right? If you're over 120 and you're receiving Social Security, it's probably fraud, right? Because people don't live that long. And so that's getting cut. And illegal immigrants who are not supposed to be on the system anyway were getting cut. But the mainstream media has fooled all these women and men, unfortunately older people, into believing that they're going to lose everything due to Donald J. Trump. And that's why I think there's an older crowd. Now, there was also big crowds. And I've got to be honest with you on that. Some of this, I think there was a big one in San Diego, big one in LA, and I think Chicago had a big one. But all of those areas, let me refresh this, all of those areas have a massive influx of illegal immigrants. They do. So I personally think that there were a lot of illegal immigrants in some of these bigger protests in these bigger towns. And that's what I think actually went on there versus people who, that and of course your elderly crowd. So some of that as well. There was also, unfortunately, flags waving from Mexico and other places. As always, you saw a lot of that. Here's one waving a non-American flag, but basically protesting, waving those flags yet again. But they got a little smarter at this protest and they started handing out flags. So you can see here in Philadelphia, they started handing out American flags because they want to give the illusion that they are more patriotic, and that is also what they have done. Now, it wouldn't be a radical leftist protest without all the violence. There was a crap ton of violence everywhere, but some of the bigger cities here, this is one. This is in Pennsylvania. They actually found this guy, cuffed him, thank God, but he had massive amounts of magazines on him. They'll start pulling it out here in a minute. But I mean, this guy had something very bad planned. Thank God the cops got him. But this is over in Pennsylvania. And then we also have this here, and this is crowd control being done. You can kind of see, I don't want to, it can be, well, you can kind of see it on the screen here, but this is in Seattle. Seattle went up in full violence. So the shit hit the fan there in Seattle. Here's some more images from Seattle where they're actually out there screaming, "Kill all the cops, I'm on the ground." And you can see the vandalism there that has been done to the store and the verbiage on it and the whole 9 yards. So that's some of what they have there in Seattle as well. And then a journalist here, he was actually attacked by a couple thugs there in Seattle. According to him, the police officers didn't help him. That's his helmet. But basically, he was just doing journalist work, and he was attacked for doing that. And that's in Seattle. And then we have protests also in L.A. that became violent. I believe people plowed through the vehicles. L.A. and very sadly is always violent. I believe there was some shootings there as well. And of course, we have Portland, Oregon that also went up in flames, literally, as rioters launched explosives at an ICE facility there. And you can kind of see the facility in the back. So lots of violence went on at these parades, as I predicted, are these protests that turned into riots. And then we have a representative here in North Carolina, and you can see her holding two severed head. In these difficult times, it says we must, more cuts may be, more cuts need to be made, something to that effect of. But that is what she's literally calling for, the beheading of Donald Trump. I mean, this is some disgusting stuff. She needs to be immediately resigned from her position. But this is the North Carolina State Representative Julie Von Hoffen. And this is what she has done. Either way, Donald Trump is sounding the alarm. He's not backing up and backing off because of these protests. In fact, he has called the FBI, the ATF, ICE, and the DEA to work together and up their entire narrative on these deportations. And take a look at this. Donald Trump put this out just recently on the 15th. So right as all these protests were kind of finishing up, but it says here, in order to achieve this, his mass deportation program, we must expand efforts to detain and deport illegal aliens in America's largest cities, such as LA, Chicago, and New York, where millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside. And there's lots of crime in these cities. Probably why we also saw a lot of crime break out in the riots that happened there at the No King rally. These and such other cities are the core of the Democrat power center, where they use illegal aliens to expand their voter base. Obviously, we know they're doing that and growing the welfare state, robbing good-paying jobs and benefits from hardworking American citizens. These radical left Democrats are sick of mind, hate our country, and they do hate our country, and actually want to destroy the inner cities, and they are doing a good job of it. There is something wrong with them. That is why they believe in open borders, men playing in women's sports, and that is why he wants ICE, Border Patrol, and the great and patriotic law enforcement officers to focus on our crime-ridden and deadly inner cities and those places where sanctuary cities play such a big role. You don't hear about sanctuary cities in our heartland. And he goes on to say that he wants ICE officers to know that real Americans are cheering you on every day, which we are. And he goes on to conclude with this, right? To ICE, FBI, DEA, ATF, the patriots at the Pentagon and State Department, you have my unwavering support. Now go and get the job done. So he's calling up all the forces to come in and act on behalf of the American people, right? And I think rightly so. I think after assessing the crowds, after assessing the protests and the riots that some of them turned into, I think Donald Trump has a pretty good call. Anyhow, with all of that, please don't forget to get to restrictedrepublic.com. I created this site in light of everything that is going on. There is still censorship, and it's still highly here on these platforms. So get to Restricted Republic and sign up today. Use the coupon code Lisa and the number 5 to get it for $5 per month. Anyhow, I really hope to see all of you guys there. I love you all. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.